You have been working in TA/RI for a number of decades, if I can say that, and including holding senior positions. And like I said before, when I introduced you, the head of the Office for TA Technology Assessment at the German Bundestag since 2002. That's a long time. I assume that you would have worked with on many projects. So I'm wondering, what is something that you see but most people often don't? Something that maybe everybody should know, should be aware of?
So yeah, thank you. This is the 100% question. One vision with respect to a very ugly problem we have in Germany and many other countries, high-level radioactive waste. We had a very bad story in Germany over the last decades, and now I'm chair of a national committee to observe and to take care of a new process, of made a complete relaunch of the siting process to find a good place how to dispose and where to dispose high-level nuclear waste. And my vision is that we will be able to manage this in a peaceful way. This would be very different to the past, because in the past there were riots and so on, really complicated situations. In the future, I'm going for a new process with public participation, highly transparent, science-based, and peaceful. And I put my effort that this will go forward. My concern, on the other side, in a broader sense, is that we continuously are in risk to overlook the vulnerabilities of our modern societies. This was already my concern before the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, which uncovered a lot of our vulnerabilities. We did a study, for example, for the German Bundestag about 10 years ago about the vulnerability of the German electricity supply and possible consequences of a blackout. And this was a devastating result we got. Today, I look at the field of digitalization. We all are very happy about digital technologies, and this is wonderful, even in particular in case of the pandemic. But we increase our dependency on these technologies day by day. One example, if we would abolish the possibility to pay by cash, and indeed in some countries, we have already now difficulties to pay by cash, then this option, paying by cash, will disappear. In case that the internet would break down because of war or some virus, some digital virus or whatever, then nobody could buy anything without cash. So this is perhaps a simple example, but I'm afraid that we are running into many, many deep vulnerabilities by increasing our dependence on the functioning of all these digital technologies. And my concern is there's no plan B. What would we do in case of? And I will take my possibilities and opportunities to raise awareness, and I will use the pandemics we experience now as an example. What could happen? Yeah, we are in risk to think, well, everything is going wonderful, we have wonderful innovations, everything will be better, and so on and so on. But there is something on the dark side of the history of the development, and we should not forget about this.
I was imagining what the world would be like without the internet, and for the younger generation, they wouldn't really know what the world would be like because they were born into the internet generation. But it is kind of a scary thought, isn't it? Yeah. Because sometimes we think of for example, countries with still paying cash, we kind of think that, oh, that's because they're behind. But at the same time, that's actually a plan B, like you said, that if something goes wrong, then they can still operate without totally being stopped.
Yeah, yeah. So there are always good arguments to go for the digital technologies. Yeah, so there's no necessity to tell about this, and this is fine. But there is another side, and this is an old experience of technology assessment, not only to look at the bright side of technology, but also to think about what could be happening in the background, which is not on our not on our table. So, and we sometimes we have to uncover what's going on
Mm.
and to go for plans B.